Thanks for checking out our channel here. This is going to be possibly a how to repair video on a Blitzer 50-mile unit. This is a 2 output joule, probably like, I don't know, 3.5, give or take, stored joules, somewhere in that range. Now about these, it doesn't matter what brand you look at, any of them, Gallagher, Blitzer, Farmworks, Speedrite, whatever. When you look at this mileage rating, you got to take that with a grain of salt. There's a little asterisk next to that mileage rating. That mileage rating sometimes gets people in trouble because they think, oh, I only got a half-mile fence. Yeah, and I'll put a 50-mile charger on there, whatever. That mileage rating is a single strand of high-tensile wire, like the 12.5 gauge galvanized steel fence wire, a real thick, heavy gauge fence wire. That's 12.5 gauge high tensile. That's perfectly clean, single strand, and a perfect ground system. That's what this thing could possibly do on best case scenario. So if you use a smaller gauge wire, use aluminum wire, use a braided rope type stuff, or that tape wire, or that electro net, poultry net stuff, all that stuff's got more resistance. Or use multiple strands of wire, or you got a mile going this way, then every quarter mile you're dividing it, whatever, with a strand going across. All that extra stuff adds resistance. That mileage rating, it just goes out the window. So you got to really be a little leery about that and what that actually means on this mileage stuff. Look at a joule of a unit. This 2 output joule. Figure out what you need joule wise. What would be best for the animals that you're trying to keep in or keep out. Don't go too big and get just I want me the biggest goddamn charger I can get. Well, that can sometimes get you in trouble. Yeah, it'll work good for a little while. You might get 3, 4, 5 years maybe out of one, depending on the brand. Some brands build stuff better than others. Because if you get too big of a charger on too small of a fence on certain brands like Zarebas, some Power Wizard units, those Blitzers, bulldozers, whatever. If you put too big of a charger on too small of a fence, these units are designed to put out all the power all the time. Clean fence, short fence, long fence, whatever. It's trying to put out all the power it's designed to do. Now, what sometimes happens is, if they got on too small of a fence, you're still trying to put out, say, 50 miles of power as a number on 500 feet of fence. Well, it's still trying to put out all that power. Well, if it can't get rid of all of its power, all that extra power it can't get rid of gets dissipated as heat. Not really internally. I mean, it does get warm inside, but the transformer gets warm, the electronics get warm, because it can't get rid of all their energy. And, over time, something's going to fail. So it gets people in trouble sometimes. Oh, how some brands get around that, and not every brand does this, is like the Gallaghers. Yeah, they're expensive, but here's what they do on some of their brands, on some of their models. On their 11 stored joule units and larger, they use a technology that they call adaptive control. Basically, it can tell based on resistance what's hooked up to it. So if it's a if it's a unit designed for, say, 300 acres and you've got it on 5 acres, it knows, okay, I only got 5 acres of resistance hooked up to me, so I'm only going to use 10 or 15% of my energy because that's all I need to use. But as soon as it detects heavier resistance on it, like either add more wire, a bunch of grass on the fence, animals to the fence, it feels that resistance, and those Gallagher units will ramp themselves up in steps until it gets to what it feels it needs to use to fight through whatever problem it feels. And once it can tell that the issue has gone away, it's not so stressed out, the joules will fall back down some, and then kind of gets back to a lower level. And that's why some of those units run for years and years and years without much trouble. And other brands that don't do that, they will build their transformers like 3 times the size of what they're capable of what they're doing. That way there's extra copper in there and stuff, and the windings, and the way it will handle the stress of not being able to get rid of all of its energy. And all that, those little things, all that costs money for the manufacturers to do. And that's why a lot of brands don't do it. So I don't know what's wrong with this one. Looks like it's it doesn't have any screws in it. I didn't realize that. Well, looks like somebody's been in this thing. See if there's any notes on it. Nope. That's just who it belongs to and address and stuff. So, yeah, there's some wires missing. There's wire missing off the capacitor. Transformer looks like it's burnt over here. Alright. Someone's been, there wasn't any screws in the thing, so someone's been monkeying around with it. Alright, well, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna test the capacitor. It says 15. I don't know if I think it's getting reading for some of these other capacitors on here, but let's test this transformer primary side. Well, transformer's okay. It has this kind of this crud on there. Let's test the output. I don't know what this is supposed to be. 10? 13? Alright, transformer's probably okay. Let's pull this board out of here. All right, let's pull this. Is that 15? Maybe it is a 15. I thought it was like a 7.5, but maybe it is a 15. Let's check it one more time. There's only one wire plugged onto it, so we can. It's a 15. I guess it's okay. Well, let's see what it does, because we can't really do. I don't know if the board's bad or not. I mean, it looks okay, but looks can be deceiving. We need to tighten it up a little bit. Let's see if they got the wires in the right spot that are on there. So it's like J1 and J2 are the power cord. That's correct. J3 and 4 should be the transformer, which is not plugged in. J3 is here and 4 is here. Say J5 and 6. 5 is J6, the black wire. We need a red wire there. So you got one sitting there. Let's see if it'll reach. Nope, too short. Okay, gotta make up another wire for it. Let's where's some wire strippers at? Nope, need a bigger one. Let's put this wire on. So I'm kind of having to fix what they started. I guess they thought, oh, let me see if I can see anything. Let me see if I can test something. And then they didn't know what they were doing and made a little bit of a mess of stuff. What's this one go to? J5, right there. Alright, so transformer, kind of slide it back into place. We got a red and black wire. See, the red wire goes to 4, which is right there. It's like 5. 3, what, J3? That one's left over. Oops, wait a minute. I got the wrong wire, wrong spot. Red goes up here. Black down here. Let's just plug it in and see what it does. If it doesn't come on at all, then we've got issues elsewhere. Come on. And they've cut on these wires or something, man. They made them too short. Someone who's ever been this before, man, I'll have to mess with this shit in a minute. And this cord's got tape on. Is that okay? Yeah. All right, let's plug it in. Hope it doesn't trip a breaker. All right, didn't click, pop, or pulse, or nothing. So let's discharge the capacitor. Grab this board with a pair of pliers so I don't want to get bit by something by accident. Take this big resistor. All right, we're going to unplug. Come on. Unplug these wires from the board. Alright, let me go look at some for another board. Alright, here's a new board. So we're going to plug the power cord in for that one. We're going to crimp on a couple new spade connectors. Looks like J1 and 2 are down here. All right. Like that. Okay, just want to make sure because there's two holes there, so make sure I put in the right hole. So we're going to put one washer there, put that right there. Put the lock washer thing. That's wrong. No, didn't have one. Put that there. Put the nut back on. There. Oh. Well, first thing I got to do first, before we get too carried away, we got to get this capacitor wired back up. Capacitor does not have a polarity, but they did have a black and a red, but there's no real polarity to these capacitors. So that they go to J5 and 6.